I am LordMaddog and we are playing Kerbal Space Program. Last time we sent a probe out to Dres and Elu. We flew by them, then returned back. And we returned back from them and landed back on Kerbin, giving us a decent amount of research, which we used on fusion reactors and something else I can't remember. And then we experimented with fusion reactors a bit, tried to make one at our Minimus base. That didn't turn out so well. Then we tried to launch one into space. That didn't turn out so well. And we did send we also did send a successful mission, resupply mission, with more Kerbals and more resources up to my Minimus base, which is nothing new because at this time we've done that 3 times. However, this time we are going to jump right in and try to develop a reactor system that we can launch into space, but we're going to do it in multiple parts. We're not going to be stupid enough to try to launch it all at one time like we were trying to do last time. I knew that wasn't going to work. So actually thinking about it, if I wasn't trying to use a thermal reactor with a fusion reactor which uses particles to generate electricity, it may have actually been enough. But I didn't realize that at the time, and since this is an older recording and I'm coming back to comment on it because my commentary on it and the time it took to do it was, well, let's just say extensive. It took a lot of time to try to build and get this thing into space. So I didn't want to make you torch you all the way of having to listen to me yammer on in the background, or watch as I failed over and over and over and over and over again. So this time we're going to the beam power wall. This is just the reactor. We're going to try to launch it with my lifter set up. Here we go. Of course, that's not going to work by itself. We have to scale everything up a bit, and that's what we do. We scale it all up, which actually kind of works. I mean, in my opinion, kind of does. Alright, so you don't have to. I also try out some different engines. It turns out that in the end, the best engine solution for this is the default one. The default Kerbin stock. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit so you don't have to watch me go through every single detail. I'm basically just end up scaling the whole thing up. However, I did make a small mistake that I realized much later on, is after trying to edit it and trying to use the Odin and Valkyrie and the other Valve or whatever it is, volcano engines, I accidentally left my top 2 that's my battery pack and the probe cores for when I want to return this thing, but I accidentally left. That's only 2,800. That's not going to work. I accidentally left my top 2 fuel things. I accidentally left my top 2 fuel things, hydrogen and oxide instead of liquid fuel and oxygen oxidizer. So I didn't realize that, which means that it makes it much harder to actually launch, as you can see. I didn't realize that even for this entire launch system, but don't fret about it. It's just kind of annoying. We're going to try to make this aerodynamically acceptable. Also, I was trying to activate, use a mod called Routine Mission, which would allow me to not have to continuously do this over and over again. You know, if I would launch something heavy in space, I could use that same launch system to launch it again. However, it's the wrong mod. That wasn't the mod that I should have been trying to use. The mod I should have been trying to use is KTSK? Yeah, KTSK, I think. And that would have enabled me to do what I wanted to do. And I actually suggest that's a really nice mod, so you don't have to continuously put stuff into orbit, because it takes about 15 minutes, even with a good setup, to put something into orbit. And after you've done it so many times, it becomes absolutely boring. That doesn't work. I'm going to skip forward until I figure out the problem here. You don't want to see me fiddle around with that forever and ever. Again. Oh, it didn't fit. The problem was I had the probe core I was controlling from. It wasn't just the top piece. That happens when your probe core is not in the right position. Sometimes it'll do that automatically flip around. But also, I am definitely top heavy, and so that didn't help much. And notice it's not going to get into orbit because I do not have enough delta V. It takes about 4K delta V to get into orbit. I thought maybe I could, didn't work. So I have to actually increase. Here I try to use rocket boosters, they don't work. And eventually I actually increased the size again, I think. Yeah, I'm just gonna forget all these things here. This is craziness. There, I start increasing the size yet again, and that works. This makes it a very expensive launch, yes, but it actually makes it quite usable. This thing, just making it bigger, makes it possible to launch a couple 100-ton into space. So we're going to launch that. So basically I just scaled up my lifter to make it a massive lifter. What's the problem with that? It's physics, don't light the way. Yeah. No clone collides. Yeah, its own weight causes it to collapse in on itself when you first start up. So to fix that, I use that, of course. Once again, I'm still trying to use routine mission. Does not work. Ooh. Looks like I need some more struts. No, I need to make sure that my control surfaces is actually in the right position. So my lift the weight, my center of lift is a little bit behind my center of mass. Gonna go ahead and turn here at 90 degrees. Do I actually make it into orbit with this? I think I actually do with this one. So I leave the reactor. Nope, nope. I need some more delta V yet. I have to figure out how to get a little bit more delta V. To do that, I end up having to actually scale things down a bit. It's not going to end up being as big as I had wanted, but it's it's better that way. But I could have actually sent it up full size. If I had realized that my top two pieces of my lifter, my rocket engine, were in fact made out of helium, hydrogen, and not liquid fuel and oxygen, like they should have been. Trying really hard to get into orbit here, and did not succeed. It's trial and error, over and over again. Scale up yet again. Alright. And now I have 4,200 LTV, but it also $5 million launch, which would be actually $5 billion according to, in our vernacular, worth of money. This time, if I remember right, it actually does work. That's a 100-ton payload there. That reactor's 100-ton. It's a Pebble. It's the second reactor you get, and pretty close to one of the most reliable ones without being complicated from what I've seen. But I'll be honest with this, even though I do actually succeed in getting this into orbit, a good orbit and whatnot, this was kind of a well, no, it kind of helps me here and there a bit, so it wasn't that big of a waste of time. It was just a massive time sink because it took a lot to get this. Once again, I'm trying to use this to the routine mission manager to track my mission, so I don't have to do the launch into orbit over and over and over again. But that didn't work. I could not figure out how to exactly use this routine tracker mission. So I just went ahead and decoupled. I guess I fiddled with this for about a half an hour trying to figure out how to get it to work. Because I remember having a mod, I thought it was called Routine Mission, but it wasn't actually called Routine Mission. It's called KTSK, I think, or something like that. I eventually do find the mod I was looking for later on in my playthrough, which helps, because I'm constantly launching things into orbit. Yes, I know, liquid hydrogen, right there, liquid hydrogen. Instead of liquid fuel. I know, that was so stinking stupid. I was upset with myself at that point. Without realizing, I crashed right into my reactor when I tried to retrograde. So let's spin it around first and release it. There. Now I can shoot past it, retrograde into orbit, and try to return this thing home, saving myself a massive amount of money from launching it. Wish it would allow you to speed up more than 4 times. I understand why they can and don't. It's just, it can take forever to land. Like I said, this is a long process. It can take up to 20-30 minutes over and over and over again. But also, I didn't realize something here. That I let myself continuously spin out, which ends up causing a massive aerodynamic force, and I kept spinning faster and faster and faster and faster. I didn't have to let myself spin. I could have used my to stop it from spinning, but I didn't, and boom, the aerodynamics just blew me apart and ended up completely destroying. Boom. Ah, well, I lost $3 million. So what? At this point. Oh, that sucked. But it was a successful launch. I now have the reactor in space. Now I just need to take up the other pieces to it. That did not work. No. Space Center. All right. Now we need to go ahead and launch my 60 did not recover. Oh, some of the stages got recovered. Look at that. Many of them did not, though. We are going to go ahead and load this up and then put the other pieces I need on. Make sure, oh, first off, make my tanks are in the right, have the right liquid fuel, not liquid hydrogen. And here I realized I would need a Kerbal to attach them in space. The only problem is that sticking a Kerbal there just is not a good idea. It ends up blowing everything up when the Kerbal decides he wants to get out. Knowing that I'm going to need to rendezvous, I decided I was going to try to add some fuel, enable myself to rendezvous. However, after much debating, I realized that it would better just to use my actual lifter, keep my lifter with me, and instead of returning it to space, returning it from space. Cause it just, yep. So I'll go ahead and skip through that phase here as I try to do that. Skip back a little bit. Alright, so yep, I decide that then. And here I decide to, instead of use the other thing, I'm going to use this. We need an engineer. So we put our engineer in there, and we're going to go ahead and test it. And this is where I find out when Kerbal exited his little seat, he blows everything up. Watch, it's funny. Boom! Well, that didn't work. Boom! So I finally decided, well, that's a bad idea. We're going to need to attach him to the side here. Just like that, yep. Make sure it's right to Kerbal. Now we're having it auto-explode. Oh. Spontaneous combustion. Don't ask me why it does that, it just does. I don't understand this stupid system. Wasn't doing that before, now it is. Oh. I decided to try to raise it off the ground, except for that becomes kind of a bit hard. And there, it actually worked. Yep, so you can EVA without blowing things up. You can then reattach it elsewhere. So good on test. All right. And we're gonna go ahead and launch. Except for that happens. And that happens because it's not tied down. It's only attached to a probe core at the very top. I was trying to figure out what's going on here. And I could not get that probe core back out of that thing, no matter what I did. Oh, I did. Well, what do you know? I didn't think I actually did. And there. No. No. No? There. I think that worked. Nah, it's not on straight. And once again, we have the blow instantaneous explosions. Because it's not high enough out. It's not off the ground. Oh. Oh. So we straighten it out. Make sure it's actually this level, and then raise the whole thing off the ground. So it doesn't at all explode. Oh, but it still explodes. One big, furry explosion. Ah, game hates me. There is no reason for it to be auto-exploding at this point, to be honest. But it just does. So I tried a different strategy. Put it into ground and let it set it up itself. And this time it doesn't auto-explode. Don't ask me why. Don't know how it works. However, we got a problem. We're not controlling from the right location. And we don't have a good lift to center of lift to mass area. Thrust. Ooh. I had to try to change my control point, thinking I might be able to fix it. But no. I gotta figure out why I'm spinning around. There, I switch my reaction wheel from there to there, and I also make sure everything's a little bit more straight. Oh, now it's taking forever to load. And no, that did not. But once we get into space, we should be able to fly straight, right? And we have tons of Delta V to spare. Not so much. That's not gonna work. Let's try that again. this time actually keeping my FPS. Oh no, another auto explosion. If load time wasn't so bad in this thing, you know, and there I found my problem. It wasn't centered. Yeah, stupid, I know. But that was the problem. It wasn't centered. If load time wasn't so bad, it wouldn't end up wasting so much time. But these load times become really extensively long for some unknown reason. And when stuff spontaneously explodes, you have to continuously load and reload and reload and reload. I hope you guys do not experience this problem in your games, because I'm always experiencing stuff like this. I love Kerbal Space Program, but it is not by no means stable. Even in stock game, if you play completely through stock wise, you're going to end up having quite a few reloads because of bugs of some sort or another, some physics bug out. It's usually with physics related. Especially if you're trying to make a trip to Elu and back. Man, trying to do that with stock components takes thousands. I mean, you're close to a trip, at least without tweak scale from what I've seen, to make a stock component from Elu and back, to Elu and back, you're going to be using close to 2,000 parts. And yeah, or from landing on Eva and back takes a decent amount, because Eva has a decent amount of I think is Eva that has heavy gravity? There's Joule, but you can't actually land on Joule. But if you're going to go into the atmosphere of Joule and then back, that can take you a bit too. There's one that has a really high amount of gravity besides Joule. I can't remember which one it was, and landing on it and taking off again was pretty hard. It has atmosphere too. Or maybe that was another mod. Okay, maybe it might be a mod. Maybe my entire deal was a bit wrong. So we are now in orbit, and we're actually going to try to rendezvous with my reactor here. And the problem with this is that I have way too much thrust. So just the time when the system uses just only estimate a second burn for 90 ms, it's too much. So it messes up the auto rendezvous thingy. So you have to perform it almost by yourself manually. We spin around, spin around. There we go. We are now intersecting with my reactor that I have launched. There's my reactor. This quick spit slow down. Stop connecting. Bring him out. trying to get this position right. There we are. Yes. Now I need to grab onto my reactor and attach it. Something blew up. I think I'm going to need to reload. We can't have anything blow up whenever I attach it. Oops. Reload. I didn't save when I got in range of it. That was dumb. There we are. This time I need to save. Better save. Alright, attach. Boom. Moving stuff in space wouldn't be too hard. Even if they're a couple 100 ton. Maybe just kind of nudge it along. At least I don't think it would be. I don't need that probe core. Once again, we have an explosion. Some of my radiators decide they don't like me. Detach that there. That way I can get a good attach. This time without any explosions. Save game. Now all we need to do is board again. It's not active, so we're going to activate our receiver. We're going to have to build because to start most reactors you have to have a decent amount of power if they're not already activated when you put them out. So we're going to have to launch a reactor from here. And activate it. So it's sending out a decent amount of power. What am I doing? Oh, here I try to make a movable reactor because I wanted to make this thing and then send it, move it to 2.5K away, and so I wouldn't have to deal with it being on my what do they call it, on my launch pad. However, that did not turn out well at all. I just skipped through it because it ended up being a complete and total waste of time, because once again physics didn't like me and it would instantly explode 100% of the time. Boom. Boom. It would always explode. So that, like I said, ends up being a total bust. I kept trying it, but no, didn't get anywhere with it. And the load time became even longer and longer. Here, try it out over here. At least can't. Oh wait, I think I eventually, give me a sec, I just left it as is and activated it. It took forever to, that's all load time there. Alright, so there it's, I activated it and I just went to Space Center. From Space Center I went back out to my reactor in space. It's taking a long load time. Made sure it was in there. Now we're receiving. Now I can activate my reactor. Reactor activates at 100%. I mean, no, it activates. So it will last 2 years and it's working. However, my thermal generator decided it did not want to be part of this whole thing. It would not activate no matter what I did, and I couldn't figure out why. No reactor available, shutting down. Absolutely infuriating. And that happened. It's a bug, and I could not fix it for the longest time. And then I finally figured out what was wrong. I can't remember what was wrong or how I fixed it. So I got it to work. And that was that. Now I have a reactor in space, kind of anticlimactic. It's generating about 100 megawatts of power. And I go to test it with my tester. Testcraft. Do you remember this little guy? With super long load times. Alright, activate here. They are not receiving because it's not in the right position. We gotta wait till it comes around. There, 5 megawatts of power. And we take off. Yeah, we have a successful reactor in space now. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you today. So we've got ourselves a reactor in space. It took forever to get it there. It took a lot of work. It took close to $10 million to put it up there as well. And yeah. So I'll see you next time. This is LordMaddog signing off.